Hangout is live.
Okay. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Excited that you could join us today for this session of Coachquest Live. So what we do here is I'll do some introductions here, but it's live coaching, unscripted, and where you're able to see and hear what great coaching sounds and looks like and feels like. So today, of course, our coach, if you're tuning in, I'm sure you probably already know Keith Rosen. He's the best-selling author of Coaching Salespeople into Sales Champions, and also of his most recent book, Own Your Day, which is a time management book for sales managers. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you, Keith. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And our coachee for the day, we're delighted to have with us the general sales manager of Suntrup Hyundai in St. Louis, Missouri, and that's Sean Kelly. So thanks so much for joining us, Sean. We really appreciate it.
Very welcome. I'm really excited for this opportunity.
Okay, so really, I'm just going to introduce Keith and Sean. Going to turn the time over to you, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, guys.
Thanks, K2.
So Sean, tell us a little about yourself and your role.
Well, my name is Sean Kelly. I'm the general sales manager of Suntrup Hyundai, Missouri's premier Hyundai dealership. With the company for about 4 years. I oversee the new and pre-owned sales departments. And basically, I kind of run the show here.
All right, thanks. And I appreciate you coming here and providing us an opportunity to coach and support you through any of the goals or challenges you're faced with, real-time, live, and unscripted. So without further ado, how about you share with me one of your biggest goals or challenges, and we could dive right into the coaching.
Fantastic, Keith. That sounds great. Thank you again, and you're welcome. I'm happy to be here to help out and share with everyone how powerful coaching can be. So basically, in St. Louis, we have a unique market. It's very seasonal. So as far as challenges go, one of the biggest challenges that my dealership and my employees face is every year the transition from busy season to slow season. So what kind of happens is the salesmen are, I guess you could say they get used to the low-hanging fruit. That is an overabundance of floor traffic, people walking on the lot and shopping. We're bombarded with incoming sales calls, that type of thing. So, and our marketing department does a great job on bringing business in. But no matter what, at the end of the busy season, when things slow down, the challenge is for me, I guess, and for my team is getting the salesmen to switch their mindset over from that of, hey, we're harvesting the low-hanging fruit to getting out their bow and arrow and going hunting for business. So that's one of our biggest challenges. And if you could help me find a way to switch their mindset over faster, to eliminate that that time frame where it takes to go back into prospecting mode, to get them enrolled in doing the prospecting that they need to do to survive the winter and make the money that they deserve to make, that they're used to making, then that would be great.
Great. Sounds like you're open to exploring some possibilities to do that right now.
Absolutely, big time. Yeah, very open.
It's one of the universal epidemics I see. It sounds like they're spoiled right now. During busy season, the leads are coming in, the traffic is flowing, and all of a sudden they're shifting from that abundance to scarcity, and all of a sudden they need to change the way they're doing things, the way they're marketing, the way they're prospecting it. Did I capture that right so far?
Yes.
Right. So can you walk me through a little bit, what have you done so far to try to shift their mindset and get their behavior to change?
Yes, Keith. So in the beginning, we plan for this. So we start letting them know in our weekly sales meetings. The managers start letting them know in our weekly sales meetings that we are going to be approaching the slower season soon. So it's important that everyone start networking, reaching out, planning ahead, get on social media. So what we've done to prepare so far is just let everyone know that the slow season's around the corner. Be ready to start digging in. Also, another thing is that me and the other managers here try to model the behavior that is needed for our staff. So whenever it starts slowing down, we get our feet wet. We start getting into the CRM more. and digging for those deals, looking deeper. We start bringing the salespeople in to the office more frequently and looking for lost opportunities.
Okay.
So that's what we've done so far.
So other than modeling, you're just sharing with them, keeping it top of mind for them. Hey guys, we got to dig in. We got to get on social media. We got to make those calls. We got to, mine for prospects, call up old customers, all those things. Am I getting all that right? So
Yes,
I'm
correct.
hearing the strategy. What's the messaging sound like for them? When you're speaking to them, what if I was one of your salespeople, what would that sound like?
If you were one of my salespeople and we were talking about that, I suppose it would sound like things are going to be slow. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to work harder. It may also sound like, maybe we're barking orders at you, perhaps. It may also sound like we care about your well-being and you making a paycheck, and we want to push you to, help push you to do that. Got
it. So it sounds like your intentions are pure. You want to help them out. Can you dig a little deeper in terms of the how? What's the how behind that? I'm hearing the what, but okay. How are you uncovering exactly the way they're doing things? How are you monitoring that as well?
So what we do, we utilize our CRM to track. It's called Drive Centric. It's a really good tool. We go in there and we look for missed opportunities. It also has a list of daily tasks for every salesperson. Mm-hmm. So what we try to do is get in there and we find who's past due on their tasks, who isn't completing the task, who isn't scheduling future tasks for other customers. And when I say schedule a task, I'm saying scheduling a phone call for Monday to follow up with X customer on Y car, or maybe call customer on their. It gives them tasks to call a customer on their birthday. It gives them a task to send a video to check in with the customer and make sure they're enjoying their new car.
So let me jump in real quick. So given they've shared with you what their strategy is that correct?
Well, I guess it's more we've shared with them what the strategy is.
Interesting. So what's the level of adoption and follow through that you're noticing?
Not very good. I would say that the managers have bought in; they understand. But as far as the salespeople, I would say, it's constant us reminding them and us pushing them to do what we need them to do.
So that pushing that proverbial boulder up the hill, and if you stop pushing, it's going to roll right over you.
That's I would say you hit the nail on the head there.
Okay. So what do we need to do to get them bought in? What's the missing piece here?
Let's say instead of a boulder, let's call it pushing a trade-in up the hill. Car business talk. No. So what we need to do, I would say, is sit down with them instead of us telling them in sales meetings what they need to do. I suppose the better way to go about it would be sit down with them and ask them some questions like, what's your plan to bring in customers whenever the floor traffic's lighter? What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Asking them and then finding out, we can find out that way what they plan on doing. And after that, maybe we could kind of fill in the blanks. And
when you say fill in the blanks, how do you mean?
Well, I suppose if I ask a salesman who doesn't quite have the experience, tenure, or maybe know the big picture. If we ask them, I guess we ask them what they think they need to do. What could possibly happen is they're going to lay out what they know, mm-hmm. but because they're not seeing the whole picture. So I guess the blanks would be where the manager's experience comes in. So that's where, let's say I sit down with a salesperson. They say, yeah, I'm going to post things on social media and I'm going to follow up with unsold prospects. I could then chime in, okay, that's a great idea. What's your plan for asking for referrals from sold customers?
Okay.
And then from there, that would be filling in the blank. They didn't talk about that part of it.
So I'm hearing strategy, but what assumption might you be making there? Because correct me if I'm wrong, because I've seen this in most companies. Do you have a top salesperson?
Oh yeah, I've got
who's crushing it all the time.
I'd like to say I've got a group of them, but okay. I do have one person individual that's above the rest. Sure.
Okay. And what are you noticing differently aside from activity?
Okay, yeah. As far as he definitely activity. He's always doing more tasks and following up with customers, and so yeah. Aside from activity, I'd say he's got a great attitude.
Mm-hmm.
He's always. I would say it's just pure work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely outworks his peers. He also, he's always in communication with the managers as well. That's something that he's doing. It
Okay.
seems like, yeah, it seems like his ability to communicate with the management on every customer helps him.
So I'm curious, if you have two salespeople, you got your top salesperson, and then let's say you have someone that's maybe a C or a B minus player, and you're looking at a spreadsheet and they're both engaging in the same activities, then my question to you is, what would make that A player an A player, and what would make that C player a C player?
I would say the ability to follow the sale process. If they're both,
Say more about that.
Sure. So we have a really strong, what I believe is a very strong sales process. And if two salespeople are doing the same activities, then the only thing that would differentiate their units and why one would sell more, the A player would sell more, would be their attitude, their ability to follow the sale process. And if someone follows our sale process, they're almost guaranteed that they're going to succeed, because our sale process it's a great way. The customer, we find out everything we need to know about the customer. We show them the right car the first time so they don't waste their time. Everything's transparent, and the customer leaves here happy.
Okay, I'm hearing strategy now. I'm hearing process. Is there something deeper than just the steps or the what they need to do? Because again, if you have two salespeople, they could follow the process. Okay, I'm doing step 1 to step 2 to step 3. I'm making calls. I'm online. I'm mining for business and social media. What's missing? What's the gap?
The thing missing there, another, I guess, would be the attitude, the drive, the internal drive.
Go deeper than that. That's who they are. Go shift to what they do. And again, they could make a call, but why would one salesperson be successful making a call and the other one wouldn't?
Why would they be? They know, they practice, they know the script.
Oh, so wait. What did you just say?
I said they've practiced, they know the script.
Oh, a script. So what's another way of saying that? What makes a great salesperson outside of just following a process?
I guess just a routine, habits, good work habits, a routine, doing the right thing every time, doing the same thing every time, so it's measurable and can be adjusted.
So am I hearing it's not just about what they do, but how they do it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, are we talking about, if I could pull something out in between of what you're saying here, you got top salesperson A. I'm curious, would you agree that the top salespeople communicate at a higher level and a more effective level than the ones that aren't as effective?
There's no question. The top salespeople know how to communicate with not just their manager to make sure they're on the right track, but the client. They ask more questions. They make sure the time they have with the customer is spent doing things the right way.
Okay, so there's a couple of gaps I think we're surfacing here. Number one, it's not just the what, but it's the how. And the how can also fall into communication. So you mentioned before, one thing that they could be doing that I don't know if they're doing a lot of, so please, I don't want to make any assumptions here, is they could be asking for referrals. How effective and consistent are they with asking for referrals?
Well, I have a few members of the sales staff are very effective and very consistent, and that's the larger book of their business is generating referrals. And then I have other people that don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Why is that?
Maybe again, if I was to, without asking them, I would say that maybe because they're scared of what the customer would tell, or when they call a customer, they're scared of what the customer might say.
Oh, that's
maybe they're.
So wait a second. What assumptions might you be making around what you just shared?
Well, I could be assuming that the salesmen don't want to call customers for X or Y reason. Maybe I haven't asked them.
Oh.
I guess that's the assumption.
Okay. So
that I haven't sat down to ask each individual why they don't do that.
So it's for them, it's what's the why? What's the root cause behind the inability or the reluctance to do that or make those calls or even ask for referrals? Sounds like, as you said before, there's an assumption you're making around why they're not doing it.
Sure. Yeah, I would definitely say that that's definitely the case.
And you do know the root cause of all miscommunications, lost sales, and forecast inaccuracy is, right?
Assumptions?
My favorite word, assumptions. So it sounds like one opportunity you have now is to actually sit down with them and go, what's the why? You know, we talked about some strategies during slow season for you to go ahead and maintain your book of business and still be successful every month. May I ask what the resistance is or what your thinking is around going out and asking for referrals? Would that be the type of question that would fit for you in terms of asking your salespeople?
Absolutely, Keith. I think that if I sit down and I find out the real reason why they don't want to do this or what's holding them back, then I could help them overcome that, whatever that way of thinking is. And I could show them how it could benefit them, as opposed to, I guess, just telling them to do it and hoping they do.
Yeah, and of course we know hope is not a strategy, right?
Right. No hope. No hoping.
Keep asking them, hey, why don't you make calls? You got to make calls. You got to ask for referrals. But that's that directive management style that doesn't get to root cause or get their buy-in either. So I think that's that other part that I'm curious about that you mentioned earlier, because I don't want to step over anything as a coach, is you talked about them maintaining their business through the slow season. And you mentioned before about you telling them what they need to do. Two questions around this. How much time have you spent actually asking them to produce a strategy to present to you?
Probably a minute or three. Not enough. Definitely not enough.
Okay, so one part is actually again, shifting from being directive to actually seeking to understand what their strategy is, leading with questions rather than leading with answers and telling them what to do, because as many of us know as managers, and that people resist what they hear but believe what they say, right? So if they create it, they own it. And if they own it, they act on it. So I think one opportunity we just created is, first of all, shattering that assumption. Second of all, for them to create their own strategy rather than you force one on them, because it may not be a fit for them. And like many salespeople, it sounds like with the activities that you shared, there's a lot of different things that they could be doing to generate new business. Just like there's a lot of different ways you can, get from New York to California. And one strategy may work really well for one salesperson. Another strategy might work really well for another. So having that individualization and tapping into their individuality is probably a huge opportunity that we just unpacked here. I think before all that has to happen, there's something else. Because you mentioned earlier on in our conversation that, that proverbial boulder that we're pushing uphill, if you find resistance on the other side, what's missing that hasn't been done yet by the manager or by you?
I guess the missing link would be I haven't aligned my efforts with theirs. So if we're butting heads on something, I've almost always found that it's because we need to let them know that I'm doing this to help them. This is for their benefit. Okay, interesting. So am I hearing you say that you skipped over that step? Yeah, I suppose telling them in a meeting it's going to be, it's going to slow down, things are going to be tougher, isn't quite the same as I guess getting on the same page and letting them know we're part of their team.
So in other words, you would jump on your soapbox.
Yeah, more or less.
Little soapbox management going on, hey guys, it's going to be slow season. We got to ramp it up. We got to step up our efforts. We got to do things that we haven't done before because, during the busy season, we get a little spoiled and the business is coming in and, we all of a sudden we're in the situation where we got to put more effort in. So you got to get out there. Okay, guys, break. Go ahead. I'm sure you've never done anything like that before. Right, Sean?
I don't know I have no clue what you're talking about. That's me right there. You got me.
So if we shift gears here a little bit, I always say soapbox management is dead. And rather than a manager telling their people what to do. Even if, and listen, it sounds like you're coming from the best intentions at heart. You care about your people. You care about the organization. You want to make them look good. You want to make them successful. I hear that commitment loud and clear coming from you. And sometimes we want it so badly for them that we don't realize that telling them all this is often landing on deaf ears, because while you might be coming from good intentions, they may not really know what your intentions are, or they feel like you're just preaching at them. So you mentioned something earlier that I want to pull out and put right in front of our line of vision, which is what really needs to happen to create that alignment. So here are the business objectives. Here are their personal goals, right? Would you agree that everyone has, their own personal, in a perfect world, of course, they have their own personal goals or business goals. And then there's, of course, the corporate or business objectives. And ideally, what would happen if you were able to align those two towards a shared vision where everyone is focused towards the same goal and each person on your organization is following that North Star? What would be possible then?
We could easily survive the winter. We would have a united front, a clear purpose, and the salesmen that struggle this time of year could definitely be able to reach their goals, and they'd be happier and stick around longer.
So it sounds like there's an opportunity to, and I'm going to use the word enroll because that's what I talk about in my book, The Art of Enrollment. How do you actually create alignment and buy-in while making sure you're clear with what needs to happen, but aligning that with what's most important to them? Because in essence, if they see that by taking these actions during slow season is going to yield an personal ROI for them, so they get what they want, as you know, they're going to be more apt to wanting to do it. So before me giving you some best practices around that, I am curious to hear what that might sound like through your voice. What's your first reaction if you listen to your gut and I was one of your salespeople and you were looking to enroll me and, set clear intentions and take a stand for them? What would that sound like?
Well, I would definitely want to have a group enrollment in our next sales meeting about sitting down one-on-one. I would then bring them in, give them some one-on-one coaching, and I would let them know. I would say, Keith, you've been doing a great job for me this year. I want to see you make it through the winter without putting a dent in your wallet or your pocketbook. I want to make sure that you and your family can, afford to have a great Christmas and have just make it through the new year. So do is help you accomplish that. What I'd like to do, if you're open to discussing this now, is I would like to go over your plan for how you're going to succeed through the slower months. What are you going to do to drum up business, bring in family, friends, referrals, old souls? Let's go through each category and find out, what you're going to do, why you're going to do it.
And what would be that? Sounds perfect, Sean. And what would be that last thing you'd want to do? Because one of the things that I've always seen with people is if you get permission to have a conversation rather than force it on them, they're always going to be more open to having it. So what's that last little question you may want to ask after you've stated your intentions there and what's in it for them?
Is this something you'd want to discuss right now? Or are you open to going through this plan with me?
Perfect. Well done. Exactly. So it sounds like you've just crafted a great enrollment conversation to tee up that conversation, right? Rather than the typical manager getting on their soapbox, being directive, telling people what to do, and then shocked when they don't do it. Now you've changed the entire paradigm and the entire conversation. And when you change the conversation, you change the outcome. So now, just to paraphrase what you said, it sounded like, hey, what I want for you, and that's one of my favorite languaging for coaching, is that when you use the words what I want for you, it's not about you. It's not what I want from you. It's what I want for you. And that's about stating your declaration of what is most important to them. It's taking a stand for what's most important to them. And the one thing I heard is, hey, what I want for you is to be able to go through busy season without the stress so that you don't put a dent in your wallet or pocketbook, so that you can ensure that you're maintaining the income that you need through the slow periods, have a great Christmas, and feel really good about what you're accomplishing. And in order to do that, I'd love to sit down with you and create a plan that you feel comfortable with, that you can execute on, that's going to allow you to achieve that. would you be open to discussing that? So is that pretty much aligned with what you said and where you were looking to go? Sean? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yep, I'm here. Just a little internet glitch. No, that's perfect. If I use that, I truly believe that my salesmen will be all ears, and then they'll be much more open to discussing that. And it'll probably, I won't come across as a manager who thinks they're not already doing their job. Because that's the other thing. I was thinking about what you've asked me earlier, and maybe whenever we tell them, you need to do this, you need to do that, they might also feel like we believe they're not currently doing what they should be doing. And in that way, they're going to be much more open to listening, and they won't be on the defensive, coming up with reasons why they haven't done this or that. Instead, they'll listen, they'll know we're trying to work something out together.
Awesome.
Your approach was amazing.
I'm sorry, say the last part again.
Your approach to that was amazing, or the other part?
Okay. Well, you created it. I just refined it a little bit for you. First I wanted to see exactly how you would handle it. Then I just filled in the gaps a little bit just to make it a little more impactful with your messaging, because that's what it's about, right? Sales is a language, just like leadership is a language, and the language of leadership is coaching. So just to kind of wrap this part up here, and I think we'd be able to wrap up in probably about 5 minutes or so, unless, of course, you have any other questions, Sean. Looking at that enrollment statement, and I think you said something that was also worth repeating, is if we're directive, it sounds like there is that chance people might get defensive.
Absolutely.
And if we're directive and we're telling people what to do, not only could they get defensive, but is there also a chance that they may feel like you don't have the faith in them to do their job?
Sure. Yeah, there's no question. They might believe that they might think I'm micromanaging, and that without me micromanaging, they're not going to follow through or get it done.
And all those things tie right back to why it's so critical to set your intentions. Because if you use that approach you have in the past and you've seen how it's not working as effectively as you'd like, if you haven't set your intentions clear, if people don't know that your intentions are pure and, hey, here's what we're doing and here's why we're doing it, and most important, here's what's in it for you, the human condition is people default to fear. Especially as a manager, if you go in there and just say, hey, here's what you need to do, people default to fear if they don't understand what your intentions are. So with the enrollment conversation that positions, that coaching moment, that opportunity to do a deeper dive and collaborate rather than compete with them, that allows them to open up, as you said. So there's one final part that I'm curious about is once you open up that dialogue and you start asking them questions about what they perceive the best strategy would be for them and what would work best for them and the level of consistency they need, and not only what they need to do, but as we unpacked earlier, how they need to do it and what that message sounds like and what does it sound like to actually call up and ask for a referral and what's the best approach to do so. After you've gone through that process, are you just going to stop the conversation, or is there maybe one or two other questions or things that you want to touch on before you end that meeting with them?
Well, I suppose we wouldn't just want to end the meeting there, because, we'd have to make sure that they're actually going to go forth and do what we discussed. So I suppose at the end of the coaching session, I would want to find out, when are you going to start this plan? When would you want to follow? What would you want me to follow up with you to make sure, that we stay on track? How can I be your accountability partner? Something along those lines to make sure we do these things. Something like that. Am I on the right track? You think? You're nodding.
I got nothing for you on that one. You nailed it.
Okay.
You nailed it. And what a great example of great coaching is that, all I did was ask a question and you already had the answer. Nothing I could share on top of that. You shared 3 great questions that you can do to, number one, hey, number one, what do we need to do to make sure you're following through and following up with this? When would be a good opportunity, or when would be a good opportunity for me to follow up to ensure you're on task and achieving what you need? How can I be your accountability partner, ensuring you're following through with this? If you really want me to throw another one out, if you're not following through, how would you like me to approach you? And what would that sound like? So you don't get on the defensive. So I just threw in one last question, but you just nailed the first three, which is a great example of, I didn't need to tell you the answer. You already had it in you. I just need to ask you that question to pull it out of you. So well done. Well done, Sean.
I read a good book, Coaching Salespeople to Sales Champions. It helped.
Oh, I heard about that book. Not bad, is it?
Pretty good. It's the best. I'll give it 5 stars.
At this point, I'm looking, we're at about 30 minutes in, and this could be a really great place to start wrapping up. So I'm curious, before we do start wrapping up, do you have any final questions or comments?
Actually, if you don't mind, regarding the actual conversation with the sales associates or the one-on-ones, when we're asking them, okay, so I ask them what you plan on doing, and then they give me this plan. How are you going to do that? How does that sound like to you? I make sure they're on track. What if they don't? What if they leave out some important things, but I can tell they just are really against, like, let's say they leave out the asking for referrals from old customers. How can I get them to buy into that part of it, the part of it that they didn't bring up? If you could just say more about that.
Great question. Thanks for asking. So in coaching, there's really 3 general scenarios you're gonna run into. Number one, as you're seeking to understand their point of view and what their strategy is, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and what the message sounds like, which, by the way, is a huge miss for a lot of managers. They're not coaching the message, and you don't coach the result. You coach the process, you coach the who, you coach the why, and you coach the message. So as you're going through this process, you're going to find, generally, when you're coaching anyone, 3 things. Number one, just like you nailed it, I didn't have to fill in any gaps. So they're going to share with you a strategy, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, what they're going to say. And all you have to say is, go, baby, run with it. That sounds awesome. And again, when do you want me to follow up? How can I be your accountability partner? All those great questions that you pulled out before. The second scenario is going to be, they maybe give you a situation where their solution is maybe partially baked. Sounds pretty good, but maybe there's a couple of gaps. And finally, in the extreme example, they might share with you a solution that, as the sun may come out tomorrow, it's not going to work, and there's a huge bunch of gaps. Their languaging, the way they're coming across, could be improved, and it's not going to be as effective given the best practices and your experience and what you've created within your organization. You didn't hear any of that. So there's a huge gap. Not only is it half baked, they don't even have the right ingredients. It's not even in the oven. So on the last 2 parts, once you've gathered what they know, you also know what they don't know. And in that scenario, it's the perfect opportunity for you to share your observations. So a lot of managers are under this mistaken belief that when they're coaching, what do I do, Keith? I just keep asking questions and just kill them with questions? No, you don't do that. You get to the point of what they know and what they don't, and then you fill in the gap. And just like we did earlier about getting permission to have a conversation, it's also about getting permission to share some gaps that you've noticed, because people can't change what they don't see. So that could sound as simple as, hey, Sean, I really appreciate you sharing your strategy with me. It sounds like you put some really good thought into this. Listening to you, it sounds like there's a couple of other things that we could bake into your strategy and how you're going to go about doing it that would make you even more successful. Are you open to hearing some of the thoughts and things that I've observed? So that's the first part. And then you have gotten the license to share what they missed or some best practices that you've seen that's worked really well for you and some other top salespeople that you could then share with them. Now, to take that last part, because I also heard you had another question under that, was, okay, Keith, so let's say I suggest, hey, one strategy that's really effective is calling up past customers and asking for referrals. And you might suggest that, but they may still have resistance to it. So what's the $1 million question which is right in front of your line of vision that you want to ask? They say to you, I'm not really comfortable asking for referrals. What's the simplest coaching question you could ask at that point?
Why? Why not?
Perfect. Why?
What's keeping you from doing that?
What's the why? And what you'll find is that you're going to go deeper into a conversation about, well, now given my experience, and I'm making an assumption right now, a lot of salespeople will say, well, I don't want to come across as intrusive. I don't want to come across that I'm being pushy. I really value that relationship, and I don't want to tarnish it in any way. So think about, those are all assumptions. If they've never done it before, they're assuming that's the outcome. So the coaching moment there is, well, let's create a new possibility, because that's what coaching is all about, right? Creating new possibilities. Mm-hmm. So what if we can make you more comfortable and create a process where you can ask for referrals in a way that's aligned with your integrity and will make you feel confident enough to go ahead and ask. Now, of course, at that point, they're probably going to say yes, right?
Yeah, I hope.
So now at that point, what can you do is, what's the question you can ask? Because they said all these things, but they haven't validated it yet. So what's that called?
They haven't validated assumption.
Yeah. So what's the question you can ask there when they share with you all the things that they're worried about could happen?
Right. Could happen. I'd say, have you actually done this, and did those things happen? And then I could also say, let's say that does happen. Then from there, what's the worst case scenario?
Awesome.
You're still alive, you still have your job, and you can call someone else. So follow. I guess I could say, hey, if you followed through, let's say you get 5 people in a row that, it bothers. I mean, bottom line is that we can always sit down and come up with a better way. There's different ways I could make them feel more comfortable with it, I suppose.
There's no way. And it's just that process of exploration. And given what I just heard you say, if I could just fill in a couple of other areas, you could just simply ask us, what assumptions are you making about asking for referrals? Mm-hmm. Or like you said, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you do? Or, sometimes a lot of salespeople, especially when I'm coaching managers and salespeople, they'll say, well, Keith, that's not always going to work. And my response is, you're right. Nothing is always going to work. But what if it works 10% of the time? What if it works 20% of the time? Is it worth it?
No doubt.
Yeah. And I think that's that other part where salespeople get stuck, and even managers, is that if they don't think it's always going to work, they get stuck in that absolute thinking, well, it's either always going to work and I'll do it, or it's not going to work all the time and I won't do it. Well, no, there's a little gray area there that we can explore that would still move that needle of productivity forward. So that's another great coaching moment during that conversation to really get under the why and help create a new possibility in a way that they would be comfortable approaching their past customers. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, and I'm going to do that starting tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe today.
So wait, today or tomorrow?
Today. We're going to start today.
You said you're going to start today. Now, as your coach, is it okay if I follow up with you to see if you follow through with your commitment?
Absolutely. I'd appreciate it.
And Sean, when would be a good opportunity for me to follow up with you?
I would say early next week.
Early next week? And what's the best way to reach out to you? Phone, text, or email?
I would say shoot me a text.
Shoot you a text? You got it. So you can expect a text from me next week to follow up with you to see how things went and the progress you made. And just want to make sure I'm there to support you unconditionally, whether you like it or not. I'm your coach for life now. So I hope this has helped you explore one of the challenges you were faced with and create a new possibility that will help you break through and create some breakthrough results with your team.
There's no question, Keith. This is great. I really appreciate you taking the time today. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. And just to wrap up, what are a couple of the big takeaways you're leaving with?
Well, first, we're going to enroll everyone, let them know that this isn't because I want to tell you to do something and I'm trying to get anything out of it. This is because I want to help you survive the tougher months and not just survive, but thrive during the tougher months. So let's talk about a plan. So we're going to go over their plan. Once they go over their plan, I'm going to fill in their gaps, the part of the picture that they don't know about with my experiences and expertise and the top performers, things they're doing right. From there, I'm going to ask when and how I can follow up with them on that to make sure that we're holding them accountable in a supportive way as their manager.
Sounds like you got your plan together. So well done today. And I appreciate you being so coachable. And it's really been a pleasure being able to collaborate with you today. So thanks for putting yourself out there. Thanks for sharing what you've been going through, because I can tell you right now, those people that are watching this and those people that are going to watch this in the future, I guarantee they're going to look at this and say, wow, I'm not alone. This was an exact challenge I was running into, and it doesn't matter what line of business you're in. So you've really just contributed to our worldwide community of sales leaders and managers. So thank you for that, and thank you for your contribution to this webcast. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to K2 so he can go ahead and wrap up this webcast.
Okay, thanks, Keith, and perfect. Thanks so much, Sean, for that. One thing that, two things before we completely close it out. So first thing is I was able to activate some of the live chat on the side of the live broadcast. So I do have one question from one of our viewers that I'll ask in just a moment from Larry Perkins asked that. But before I do that, this is more for you, Sean. So if you don't know, I actually first met Keith when I hired him as my coach when I was a sales manager. And I remember in my coaching calls, one of my favorite things about that was I literally kept 2 columns of notes. I kept one column of notes of the specific things that he was coaching me on, like you guys were talking about with enrollment in your meetings and everything that you discussed. So all of those with my go-dos and everything. But I kept an entirely separate column of things that I was able to witness him model as a coach. So I got dual value out of those coaching sessions, what we were coached on, plus what I watched him do, the questions he asked. So my question for you is not necessarily what he coached you on, but what you observed. What were some of your takeaways from how he coached you that you could then apply to your team?
Sure. Well, the way Keith coached me there, he was very open. He made sure that there were no assumptions. So instead of him just talking and preaching, he tried to make sure that I knew what was going. He tried to make sure that he knew what was going on in my head, which is very challenging for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, no, thank you. And one just observation that I would make also is that one thing that Keith would coach me on, but then he models really well also, and was a really big value for me, is that the answer you're looking for, or what you're really needing to get to, is almost always, and correct me if you say this differently, Keith, but at least 3 to 4 questions deep. That first question, no matter how well it's crafted, it most likely isn't going to result in the breakthrough aha moments you need. So that would just be kind of one other thing to put in your line of vision. And if you think back, oh yeah, Keith did do that on multiple occasions, was just really getting deeper and deeper and deeper. If it was like, well, I'm not really sure, just to keep asking those questions, and it's going to be 3 or 4 questions deep. So.
Yeah,
build onto that one, K2, is one of my favorite coaching questions is really simple. And, or what else could be true? What else could be true? I just had a coaching session with a manager yesterday, VP of sales, and he was getting stuck with his sales team. And I just kept saying, so what have you tried? He said, oh, I tried this, but it didn't work. And I would say, and he would keep going deeper and deeper. And as to your point, layer by layer by layer, we finally got to root cause. And I didn't even have to tell him it. He's like, whoa, Keith, it's right in front of me. There it is. And all I did was ask a simple question like, and, or what else? So thanks for bringing that up. I'm sure that's very helpful for a lot of other managers and coaches out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I think one of the best ways to peel the layers and to get deeper and deeper is even easier than the single syllable word question, and, which is silence. Just asking the question, and when they're done giving you the answer, just to have the patience to be silent for a little bit. You did that to me, and I didn't even realize it was a technique for a while. Then it's just, you ask the question, I give my answer, and if you just don't say anything for a few seconds, I'm going to keep talking. And so that was just another thought to add.
Interesting. That one will be tough for me.
It's very hard.
That's why if you're coaching virtually, there's a mute button.
Oh, perfect.
So the question from Larry Perkins that he asked, and this was specifically for you, Sean, is what sales incentives have you used, and how are they driving behavior? Which ones have been most effective? So if you have any thoughts on that, and Keith, of course, any comments, go ahead, and then we'll wrap up after this.
Great question, Larry. I would just point out that I believe team incentives are very important. Whenever you have individual bonuses and incentives, it can motivate people. I think that this time of year, the whole team has to be behind the effort. So this time of year, I generally will create, and that's, Larry, that's something that honestly I haven't thought about for this month. Maybe I should have planned ahead, make that part of my planning. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. But generally speaking, I'm more reactive instead of proactive on things like that. So a team, a team contest seems to help this time of year because it kind of unites everyone and gets everyone going for the same goal.
Great. Any thoughts, Keith, around sales incentives?
Just real quick, building off what Sean said, is the greatest incentives are the ones that your people create for themselves. So I have this saying, if you're asking yourself a question and you're trying to come up with a solution as a manager and you're banging your head against the wall because you just can't come up with a solution, chances are you're asking the wrong person. You're asking yourself when you need to be asking your team. So to be on the court, if you're thinking, what's the incentive that I can create, whether it's an individual incentive or a team incentive that's going to inspire and motivate my people to go above and beyond the call of duty, ask them. Because we can always assume that, especially when it comes to salespeople, they're all coin operated, which is an assumption. Because if you actually go online and search what people want most in their career, it's not always money. Of course, money is important, don't get me wrong, but it's acknowledgement, it's collaboration, it's competition, it's feeling like they're part of something, it's feeling like they're making an impact, it's feeling like they're making a contribution, it's family time, it's personal time, all those things that people value and cherish themselves. If you can ask them, they're going to create an incentive around those things. And one of the best parts about that is some of the incentives or things that are going to inspire and motivate people and get them out of bed to do their job and accelerate what they're doing every day, it won't cost you a dime. So for example, if someone says, hey, you want an incentive from me? You want me to create my own incentive? Well, if I can hit my number or exceed it, if you can give me a week where I could drop off my children at school or pick them up at school and leave early or, come in late, that would mean the world to me. Or if I could have a day off to play a round of golf, that would be amazing. Or quite frankly, if I could have more personal one-on-one time with you, that would be great. After all, if Sean was my manager, I'd love to have more personal one-on-one time with him. So, and we might even be shocked and surprised about what they say, but we can't just go to that default file and think it's always about money. So ask your people what they really want.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. For those, I appreciate Larry for the question. I'll go ahead and say this, that if you are watching this after it's recorded, it's going to be posted on YouTube, so you can watch the recording later. There should still be comments available on that. So just because you aren't watching it live, still feel free to ask whatever questions that you have. I know that I can get those in front of Keith's line of vision, and I'm guessing that he'll be willing to help answer some of those. And maybe, Sean, you might as well. If somebody has a question for you, I'll forward it to you.
For sure. Please do, Keith. I'd be happy to help.
Keith, is that your assumption?
That's my assumption. So before we wrap it up, I better confirm that that's okay.
Absolutely. Be more than happy to help our global community, one person at a time.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks so much, Keith, for being available to do this coaching. And Sean and the team there at SunTrup, thank you so much as well.
Very well.
Thank you. And wishing everyone here and everyone watching and those of you who are watching it in the future, extreme success.